All right, good evening. Council, we do have new microphones. Push them, they come on, but you have to hold it down for them to go off. And they are directional, so if you lean sideways, we won't be able to hear you. Time is now 6 o'clock. We will call this meeting to order. Before we stand for the invocation, you haven't noticed on your agendas yet, the council aware, obviously, but it is a truncated agenda this evening. Unfortunately, last week, Ms. Deborah Moody lost her father, as well as Mr. Thomas Higgs lost his father. And given those events, we elected to postpone our regular business to the 24th. So we'll have another regular council meeting on the 24th of the month. However, the budget looming and publications already printed, we did decide to go ahead and push forward with tonight, specifically to take care of the budget. So if you're wondering why it's a little different than normal on the second Monday, that is why. We'll begin this meeting with invocation by Council Member Yance, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord God, we're grateful for this day that you've given us. Lord, we're grateful for yesterday. Lord, we ask for more. Lord, we ask that you be with us. We've had some members of our county lose family members. We ask, Lord, that you comfort them. We ask, Lord, that you give them peace of mind. Lord, we ask that you heal their hurt hearts. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom to direct our county in the right direction and to make the right decisions. Or we ask that you be with us, or whatever we do it to glorify your name. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Now, first we have approval of the agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Rankin,
Second.
second by Ms. Anderson. Oh, all right, we'll figure that out later. We have a motion by Ms. Rankin, second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? And I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. All right, we'll jump right into old business. First, we have public hearing on ordinance 964, the general operating budget for FY 24-25. The time is now 6:03. We will open the floor for public hearing. If you would like to speak, please step up to the mic and tell us your name and feel free to speak.
Thank you. Good evening. For those of you who are not acquainted with me, my name is Teresa Noble, and I'm the president of the Lawrence County Museum Association. I want to thank the council for its generous support in the past. We know that there are many deserving nonprofit organizations in this county who also want to share the pie. Your decision making must be quite difficult. I'd like to take this opportunity to describe the museum's unique presence in the county. It was begun as a grassroots effort from all over the county, and now has become quite the jewel in the county crown, I believe. And that's what we hear from all of our visitors. Most obviously, the museum is a center of culture and learning. In addition to carefully designed exhibits aimed at preserving and telling the history of the county, every month there are opportunities for visitors to attend lectures and other programs. Many of the visitors and attendees come from out of the county and from out of state. In fact, just this year, from January through May, 5 months, not including county residents, there were 2,000 visitors from 70 South Carolina towns, 15 states, and 1 foreign country. This is a significant increase from last year, but we believe this is due to visitors who are spreading the word. We often have people that come from out of state and say, my brother told me I need to come here. These people bring commerce to the county, dining, shopping, and lodging. We promote the other businesses and sites in the county, recommending the wonderful opportunities that Lawrence County has to offer. The museum does not charge entrance fees because we want to make its treasures available to all persons. In case you don't know, archaeologists who visit us say that we have the finest Native American artifacts exhibit in the Southeast, if not all over the country. And this includes the Smithsonian. We have written a grant for a billboard at their recommendation that will be placed on the interstate describing our Native American room. And they say that we will be flooded, which means that everybody in Lawrence County will be flooded. The museum is committed to promoting and facilitating the work of county organizations and nonprofits, from government to small charitable organizations. We make our beautiful meeting space available free of charge, only asking for help with cleaning costs if the organization can manage it. Many of you have probably attended such meetings and events. We work with our county schools to bring programs to them, provide field trip experiences, and curriculum packets for teachers. What we do at the museum is accomplished by a tiny paid staff of 3. We have 1 more because we now have a full-time intern for a year. And this was accomplished through grants. And a group of about 40 talented and committed volunteers. Truly, we deliver filet mignon on a Vienna sausage budget. Like most museums, we depend on local, city, and county support. Otherwise, we depend on membership, grants, and donations. I urge you as leaders to continue to support the museum by continuing your generous funding. Thank you.
No one else will now close public hearing at 6:08. And we'll move to the next agenda item, which is third and final reading on ordinance 926, the general operating budget. Before I call for a motion, council, it's in your packet, but I want to point out the original published ordinance on number 2, the actual ordinance. It originally read that the implemented budget for fiscal year 2024, and that should be 2025. And it also, what you will see corrected is it had originally said it would be increased by 5.48%, and that has been changed to 0. So just to be clear on the general operating budget, it is not increasing by the allowable index of 5.48. It is increasing by 0%. With that being said, just for clarification purposes, I'll open the floor for third and final reading of ordinance 964.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make two motions regarding the budget before we pass it, or for third reading.
I would need a motion for third reading before we take it.
Okay. I'll give you that motion.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Fribble, second by Mr. Rankin, for third and final reading of ordinance 946. Now the floor is open for discussion.
My turn, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move from proposed to funded and Fund 156, the $50,000 application from the Susser Centennial Committee. So he would be approving the $50,000 that they have requested from Fund 156, where it sits now as proposed, move it to funded.
All right, we have a motion to amend the budget on page 78. to Carry over the requested amount of $50,000 for the Lawrence County American Revolution Susser Centennial Committee to the final and approved column. 78 is the next to last one. So all the way to the back.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Trimble, second by Mr. Rankin. Is there any discussion? I have some questions of curiosity. Is there anybody here from the 250th this evening? Is there? Okay, the 250th, sure. All right, yeah, we'll let you use the mic. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Is that-
There you go. Ready to go?
That way.
And we got it. Okay,
That works.
can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I know back in 21, y'all, the 250 that originally approached us, y'all had a three-phase plan.
Yes,
The lock in, I'm going off memory, so I looked at it a while back, but it was about 230 phase one, about 206,000 phase two, another 140 give or take for phase three. We funded to this point about 270,000. Where in the phases are you? What's the next steps? What's coming next?
right now, we're in the middle of having, we identified about 10 or 12, I wish I had my information in front of me, I had no idea how to answer the questions. I know we have identified and done archaeological studies and have started up about 10 or 12 sites on the Revolutionary War driving trail, biking, driving, walking, whatever. I know we've done 2 sets of archaeological studies, one at Fort Lindley and one at Hammond Store, and well, also at Hays Station. So we've got artifacts from there and located the specific sites to burials and all kinds of things like that. And also, the South Carolina Battleground Trust has also purchased more acreage at Hammond Store, and they're going to develop a Revolutionary War park similar to Musgrove Mill. And that's one of the things we've done, and we've also done some grading, Durant has had that done, and a parking lot done at Hammond Store. The signage, I know that 5 are in the works, 1 is already installed. At Hammond Store, there will be 2 at Rosemont. We've got those in the works. We've had on each kiosk, I guess they're called the signage kiosk. It's like at a state park with a little roof on top, and you can use either side for signage. We've had an artist who's done work with the Piedmont Historical Society. He's done line drawings of the actual battles and what happened there. Those will be etched onto plastic or something, so that will be there. We'll have some information about the specific battle. At Hammond Store, there will be paths through there. And I know at Rosemont we will, but the county's doing that. So pretty close to having the signage done at Hammond Store before the Battlefield Trust will do their part there. I can't tell you what phase we're in because of that. I just know we go and there's. So right now, working, getting ready to meet with designers, possible designers for the exhibit at the museum, which will be installed. And we plan to, we will have a smaller exhibit that the museum staff will be doing ourselves. And we're doing it in phases too, so we build up to the 2026 big to-do with the actual celebration of the anniversary of the declaration. But that design will also include, it will have all the battles and information about all the battles. We'll have designs and exhibits for children, specifically designed for them. We'll also be including the Cunningham family and Ann Pamela Cunningham. And that will be a little bit separate because we'll be working with Mount Vernon on that. And the designer we are talking to right now is the same one who's working on the, I guess, the display area or gallery in the old courthouse. So he's already been to the museum a couple of times to get information and buy our books and talk to us and see what we're doing. We don't want to duplicate what he's doing with what we're doing. And so we're hoping to be able to work with him. I think he's gonna give us a little break, or they will, you know, some of the things we're doing, but with the Cunningham exhibit, that is really gonna be interesting because we're taking the Cunningham family from, their loyalist stand with the ones who run the Revolutionary War. They were loyalists fighting against the Patriots, but then we're gonna take them all the way through. They were large twin slave holders. They was in that aspect of our county. And there's still a lot of claim out there. We're learning from them. We're learning that, and we're also learning what happened. Also, it's really interesting that Cunningham's were loyalists, and then Aunt Pamela Cunningham saved the home of Georgia. Those are the things we're doing, but it's not all intertwined with the museum. Just that the design. I think that's it. We really want it to be something special, not like anybody else. And as Joanne Ashmore says, the thing we have here is balance. And a lot of places have that. But whereas in Camden, it was one, and it did not go well. But most of ours did go well. So, and in the favor of the Patriots. So, did that help?
Yeah, that update was wonderful. Thank you. Again, my only other question would be, roughly about $630,000 budget y'all proposed originally. How much of that have y'all fundraised or got grants for? Where are you at on outside of the money the county's giving you? What monies have y'all collected?
I'll have to ask them on that. But we've got several grants from the, and we've also been, the, South Carolina, 250th Commission Fund. I do this stuff too with grants. I know some of our speakers, we've had a couple of speakers that they paid for. So at the museum. Grant does everything for free. That's a lot to say. He loves the museum, but he also loves the subject and he wants to educate as much as he can. But I don't think, we could spend $600,000 in no time, but it would be inexpensively. I don't, we haven't looked. But Amanda has the budget. Any?
My questions are is there any other questions or discussion from council members?
Now, he's talking about the 250 years continuum, not the
Right.
county, okay. Are we not getting any more collaborative efforts through the state? Because this is something that not only in Lawrence County, it's statewide, and I'm thinking we should be getting something, some collaborative effort or some collaborative fund to help you all out on some of these
We
things.
apply for they've got a many grants. And I'm hoping we'll be able to do that with the museum exhibit. But we apply for grants with them all the time, like the Speakers Bureau, they even help us with buying a microphone.
But how much have y'all been getting? Can you give me an amount that you all are receiving from them?
I don't have it. I've seen it listen, but I don't have it. Budget, but we do. I know that there was one $5,000 grant for, a display, an interactive display, and that can be moved around the county. A kiosk, it can be moved around the county where you touch.
Your mic's on. I'll just speak up. Per the request letter, they've received approximately $19,000. So,
From the state.
yes, ma'am. So I just wanted to provide that.
Every time we are, eligible for something in the state, is where we did about it. Diane Culbertson is on that. She makes sure that we're going to, Teresa and I are going this week to Hampton, the state commission, and all the counties to come together. But we're also going to be on the Liberty Trail, which is the trail coming through at several of our sites. Not all of our 10 to 14 sites for our driving tour are going to be on the Liberty Trail, but several are. And that's a big thing too, because that will get even more publicity for our county. But Hays Station, Hammond Store, Fort Lindley, of course, Musgrove Mill, all of those sites are so important. That's why we're getting a lot of recognition for those things. And we're going to do as well as we can. As we can do great.
We had an opportunity to meet most of those guys when we first started with this commission. So I know a few of them that's been talking it up and doing all whatever we can do. And I agree when we're doing something to help out as far as well as bringing some recognition into the county. But
I know, I'll tell you, as far as the money, if there's some out there, Amanda Money's gonna find it. So, and she'll call us and say, y'all need to do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to keep this commission and let people from all over the state. And it's not just Lawrence County.
Yes, this money would be going to the Lawrence County branch, for lack of better words, of the committee. There's a local committee.
On the local community, that's what,
This is
okay.
for the local committee. So we started,
We're giving them,
I got it for you.
okay.
December 21, their initial request letter, we did 20,000. In, June of 22 during ARPA, it looks like 66,000 was going out through ARPA. And one of those was earmarked specifically for, road month, which is part of their doings. In fall of, make sure, okay, and in fall of that same year in 22, we gave them 121,000 of ATAC money. August of 23, we gave them another 12,000 in ATAX. And then in the 23, or I'm sorry, in this past year's budget, 23-24 budget, we did $50,000.
Don't have anything in there for them this time.
So it is in this requested column, and that's what Mr. Triple has made a motion to do, is move it into the approved column. Fund 156, and as a reminder, of course, 156 is its own self-standing fund. After, it's not on this list because it happened after this was printed, but the only item that's come out of there, besides what you see, is the purchase of the agricultural landing Joanna that we did with the Forest Creek Commission, that Andy's currently working on at Equestrian Park Court. And that was 150,000, give or take. So the fund balance on this account is in the neighborhood of 650, roughly.
This is the fund balance that they have right now,
This is 156.
156 fund.
Yep. That money comes exclusively from Philo Industrial Development in the county. For the revenue for that. Fund comes from.
Is this the same fund that we said we didn't want to be always tapping out of?
It's there for special projects. I
I
don't know.
understand that. I understand it.
I mean, we don't want it to get zero, obviously, but it's there for when special projects arise, whether those be projects like the Centennial that they're doing, or projects like we needed to put a new roof on. a building.
Well, is it feasible for us to, put them in the budget now at 50,000, or give them 50,000 later on, when we balance this budget without them being on there? Well, it's not part of the budget, I realize that, but y'all keep telling us that we want to be kind of careful about the 156 fund and what we do with the 156 fund.
Yeah, but we, to answer your question, we would be able to appropriate funds out of this account at any time.
I know that. But you, okay, I understand, okay, gotcha.
For your now or later question.
Huh?
For your now or later question. At any point in time.
At any point in time,
Yes, ma'am.
Most of these things are not. Once we get this sites, you know, sign. One paper sign. Some for kiosk. If that makes sense.
this is basically for our sign and stuff.
Did their letter specify their, what it was going to be used for?
Mr. Chairman, not specifically, it was just kind of a continuation of the work that was already being performed. I think the best outline we've received from that committee, which was a great outline, is their initial proposal in 3 phases, but this just looks to be a continuation off of where they're currently at.
David got something else in his pocket. Cause he said he has 2. So I want to make sure that we don't have to vote on this one right now. We want to let.
We unfortunately do have a motion on the table.
I
Apologize.
was trying to work this.
Yeah,
No,
the motion's on the table. We will take
okay,
a vote on it.
all right. No other questions.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All right, there being no other discussion, the motion to amend is on the table to allocate the $50,000 requested by the Lawrence County American Revolution Centennial Committee into the final and approved column out of Fund 156. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. All right. Is there any discussion on the original motion to approve ordinance 964 on third and final reading?
Mr. Chairman, may I make another amendment, please?
Yes, sir.
I move that the county look at Fund 563, special appropriations, and move $50,000 for the county museum from the proposed column to the funded column out of funds that are allocated there in Fund 563.
Fifty-five. All right, page 55, let's get there. All the numbers disappeared.
562. 563.
They don't look like the line items printed out tomorrow. You got a chance to have a copy of it.
I was under the impression that y'all were gonna,
Well,
have
how
grants
you
on
assume
that.
this one? Have it.
Some of them are essential. I can tell you those.
Is there a copy or you can look copies real quick? Okay. We're gonna run a copy real quick, council, so we can all be looking at the same thing. Coach, Mr. Trouble, you want to
Yeah, that was joke. That was the.
tell? While we are waiting for that, Mr. Trouble, I will go ahead and ask the 50,000 we're moving over. And as soon as we get it, we'll see it, it would in theory leave 35,000 in that fund 56, or Department 563 for grant approvals. Did you have an area you wanted the 50,000 to come from besides there?
Well, it could be taken 156 and just as easily, probably easier. It's just that that's where the proposal was in the budget and it seemed like that it would be one step instead of two, but I would be open to amending my motion to that if that would be the advice of the chair.
I prefer not to move it to 156 as it was already in 563. I just didn't know if you had it, and I should ask you earlier. I don't know if you had in mind of where the money would flow from. So, thank you, Mr. Moss, for bringing that. So in front of you, you have 563 as requested. Museum is 6 down. And they requested 55,000, you wanted to do 50, Mr. Trill.
That's true.
Motion on the table is to move $50,000 for the Lawrence County Museum account number 56059 into the final budget column, which will leave a balance of $35,000 for the grant application process.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Rankin. Now open the floor for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I think it might be appropriate for me to speak to that since I made the motion.
Sure.
I guess I don't guess that my thought about this, my thought about it is that we need to decide if we want to have a museum in the county that's a credit to the community, as Strom Thurmond used to say. Do we want to have a museum here that's open enough to have people be able to come by and see it? Many of you know that we've had a museum in Clinton and we had the building and all that kind of stuff set aside and just didn't have the will and the funds to keep it open. And so now you've got all these treasures locked up in it that nobody can see. And that doesn't really do anybody any good. And that, it seems that the museum is providing a function of lectures on our history, which is quite rich. And the preservation of artifacts, which are quite valuable. And that, we are being reminded through this sesquicentennial, these two things sort of together, of why we created this country, why we created the country. My ancestors came here for religious freedom, but we came together, based on freedom. We made claims during that process that we had to uphold later, and that we had to become the country we set out to be, and that this museum will mark our participation in those things in a way that I think is valuable and that, I'd like to see us support it and have it be, that credit that I spoke of earlier.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll echo, Mr. Tribble's comments. Really, the impact that this region has on our state from a historical standpoint is quite significant. And, we've already kind of gone over, some of that, but, history is so important. And for Lawrence County citizens to understand what happened just a couple miles from their house or just down the road, there are so many people in this county that don't know the impact of the Revolutionary War on this part of the state. And it is fascinating, it's incredible. And for us to have really a chance in a lifetime to really put that information and that history on display. And the museum, I think, has shown us that they are a nonprofit that is really using the dollars that we have allocated to them in a very resourceful way, and they are doing great work. And so I, again, second the motion and look forward to seeing this pass tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, what we did, we took all the, special appropriation out of the budget. We put a said figure in the budget for all these appropriations. And the said amount was $85,000. So Mr. Tribble just asked for 50 of them. So that only leaves 35,000 for the other 10 or 11 that have requested some funds too. I don't know what the total number, what was the total amount of all of them? 362, 300. When we added them all together, it was $362,000.
We did, I see it now. We did move 150 of that out, so
We take 150.
let's call it 210.
210. Okay, so now we're gonna try to give the rest of these individuals only this $35 that they're not put back in right now. Is that the conclusion you're gonna take?
That's the motion on the table at the moment. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I feel like the rest of these individuals need the same thing. If you're gonna put the museum back, and I believe we need to just put 563 back in place as is. And work hard at trying to find some appropriations to give these individuals for this year. Because next year we have come up with a form, and if we just pulling out the ones, I like, this is gonna be some trouble. So we said we were gonna try to do it like this. And I think everybody was looking at it as a fair way of doing it. I don't think they were looking at it as a way of trying to, pull over one over the other. But we have given these particular organizations this last year, and they looking forward to it this year. And I feel like if they know that they will not get it next year, unless we can be able to have the forms prepared, and the amount of money that we have would be better than us running, going against each other from this $50. If you take the 50,000 out, there's no way they can have 2 or 3 give it $10,000. That's 3 of them gone right there. And I don't feel like paying tit for tat is the fair way to do this.
And Ms. Diane, I think I agree with you. I don't agree that playing tit for tat is the way that government should work. And I think from my standpoint, the county is not obligated to any nonprofit on any given year for funding. I think for me, as a county councilman, representing my district, the funds that I am going to be voting for to allocate to these nonprofits, there has to be a vital interest in the county for these funds to go towards that benefit our communities. I'll be honest, I think the ARPA funds and the debate that we went through, and we had to go through all these different applications to determine whether or not we wanted to award funding, that kind of opened the floodgates for these nonprofits to come to the county every single year to just automatically assume that if they filled out a grant application that they would get that funding. And so that's why we've seen over the last few years, if you go to the 2020 budget, $44,500 was what we approved in funding for nonprofits. And that number is just exponentially blossomed to where, we started at 362,000 and requested funding by nonprofits, and we whittled that down. But again, government is not here to just hand out money just because we have it. I think there has to be a vital interest in the county for a nonprofit to request that funding, and it might look different year to year. This year, in preparation for the Cestars Quincentennial and the work that the museum has done, that is a vital interest in my opinion. And so that request would, in my opinion, have a much higher regard in what we should be considering compared to maybe some of these other nonprofits that are requesting funding. Just based on this year, I feel like the museum has definitely earned that. But I think, I do agree.
I'm not against the museum. I'm not against anything that's on this
Sure.
paper. If you're looking at that, prior to 2020, we didn't have but 5 or 6 things here. We have accumulated some others over the time frame.
I agree.
And we evidently picked them up because we felt like they needed to be given the money at that particular time. If it didn't, you should have did it then. But we felt like we should. So Bridging the Gap and the Confederation for the Blind, all of those things still need to be funded also. And I just, I really don't like to play games. I always like to win. So, and I understand where David is coming from. And I've talked to somebody from the museum. I know they talked to me in reference to some of the things that they are trying to do. And I applaud you for the work that you do. And I feel like the museum is a part of the county that we want to shine. It's not that I don't want you to shine, but I want everybody to have a little glow from the sunshine. And I feel like these other organizations here deserve it for this year. And if that's the case, I'm gonna add some others at the end after David gets through.
Let's vote on this motion. And we'll discuss it.
Okay, all right.
Any other discussion? I do have a few comments, slash questions. So at the last council meeting, council voted unanimously, if I recall correctly, to use a grant process this year. Instead of cherry picking or debating through special appropriations, we elected and voted to do a grant process and settle on the figure of Ms. Anderson. I had mentioned earlier, which is the thought process. I think I was going down. I assume Ms. Anderson was there too, that everybody was going to have a fair opportunity to request these funds and ask. And there's folks in the room tonight that have a first time ask on here, and I think they're as deserving as anybody else, if not more so. And I think if we go down this list of cherry pick, that we're just opening ourselves up for trouble. I do think that the museum is one of the, and I'm gonna go a little side from Ms. Anderson. I don't think that everyone on here deserves to be funded. You might, but I don't. I voted for some in the past, because others like them and might not like the one that I thought should have been approved. But honestly, out of all these on the list, talking about receiving government money, I would argue, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the museum over the years has gotten more money than any other organization on this page in totality. I think through grants, through private donations, of any of the organizations on this list requesting funding, y'all are probably the most well off of any of them. And I know you probably don't feel that way, but your bank account would show that if we pulled them all out. And when we're talking about a truncated amount of money that we're able to allocate, that's stuff I consider. And so the years when we do have a massive surplus, it's okay to fund somebody who has a healthy fund balance, but I mean, there's people on here, and I'm gonna use this with Humane Society, we all know they almost closed at Christmas. And didn't have any money. I mean, do we not fund them too, knowing what y'all have in your bank account? I mean, those are the things I weigh out. And I think y'all know I support the museum, I have no, actually, I might have been the first wedding, reception in the Magnolia Room. I've supported it personally, I'll continue to support it personally, I love what you do. To Luke's point on the 250th, just in the last 2.5 years, and if you count tonight, we funded 6 years worth of the museum's budget that they asked for us just for the 250th. So I would say the 250th is healthy, and I don't think there's a fear that that's going away. And I know we just voted on that. And the only reason I was comfortable voting in favor of that, one, is it is a special project that it happens a few years from now, but it is a one-time, once in a lifetime event, at least in my lifetime. I doubt I'll see the 300th, or maybe, you never know. I hope to. But it's a once in a lifetime special project, and that fund money was requested in that particular fund, and it was appropriate to do it. But to pull out one of these 11 or so items and move it over and leave everybody else with the crumbs, I'm not gonna be able to vote in favor of it. I do, however, look forward to voting in favor of the museum in the approved grant funding that we approved at the last meeting when they return those back. And we had anticipated this evening on voting on that process before circumstances change. We will be approving that that grant. We are mirroring it off of the ARPA grants, but we will be approving that grant process at the 24th meeting of county council. That's all I have on that topic. Is there any other discussion, questions, so on and so forth?
Mr. Chairman, those are all worthy thoughts and all worthy, ideas, because we have talked about the method of this. I guess the place that I'm coming from on this is that I've just been through government where we didn't have any money like this at all. You know, I mean, I came on right after 2001, and, you know, they were just scraping the bottom of the barrel, and then went into the state house right after 2008, and we owed the federal government hundreds of millions of dollars in back pay. And just, you know, after 2008, 2001, we just never have had any money to be able to do these things with. And so I guess the way that I sort of look at this list of things is that I don't see them competing with one another as much as I do see them competing for another person on EMS. You know, I'm getting beat up out there on the trail for not having enough ambulances in all the places that everybody wants them. And it's not just Joanna. I mean, we want them out at the lake and other places as well. And that I'm really comparing these asks to funding another position on the EMS squad. And that the conclusion that I've come to is that we do want to have a museum, and we do want to have it, you know, healthy and able to operate. And so I guess that's the perspective I'm taking. And I don't, I do recognize that there are other perspectives and respect those.
And I appreciate that. And I like it. They are all worthy at some level, maybe not the level of request on the page. But at some level, all of these are worthy of some consideration. I'm going to stand on the vote I took at the last meeting with the rest of council, and go through the grant process this year. Questions? If there's no further discussion, we'll call for a vote on the amendment, which was to allocate $50,000 of the 563 monies to the Lawrence County Museum, leaving a balance of $35,000 for the grant applications. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion fails 2-4. Councilman Yance, Patterson, and Councilwoman Anderson and Clark in opposition. So now we are back to the original question, which was the third and final reading of ordinance 964. Is there any further discussion or amendments to third and final reading of the general operating budget? All right. Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on the final third reading of ordinance 964, general operation budget FY 24-25. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. All right, up next, we have public hearing on ordinance 965, which is the fire budget for FY 24-25. Time is 6:49. If you would like to speak on the fire budget, please step to the mic and state your name. Seeing no one, we will close public hearing, ordinance 965, and I'll open the floor for a motion on third and final reading of ordinance 965, the fire budget for FY 24-25.
Mr. Chairman, I move for third reading approval of ordinance 965, the fire budget for year 24-25.
We have a motion by Ms. Anderson,
Second.
second by Ms. Clark. Is there any discussion? I don't see Greg here tonight, but I do want to thank all the fire personnel for all they do, and throughout this county. It's amazing that they do what they do with the budget they have, and I appreciate them working with the administrator to get to the final budget. No discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Up next, we have public hearing on ordinance 966, which is the low option sales tax for FY 24-25. Just a note, as in the past few years, it is worded that we will give 29% that we're allowed to keep back to the citizens as a credit on their tax bill. If anybody would like to speak for public hearing on the lost ordinance 966, please step forward. The time is now 6:51. Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing on ordinance 966 and open the floor for third and final reading of the same ordinance for local option sales tax appropriations for FY 24-25. Do I have a motion?
If I make the motion, can I ask a question?
Definitely.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I move for third reading approval of ordinance 966, loss fund out tax relief for the year 24-25.
Have a motion by Ms. Anderson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ryan. We'll now open the floor for discussion.
I'm wondering, where can we get some money from, to help out with, one we just had discussion about 263?
The budget we've already approved, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but you know, this 29, the taxpayer gets. The 29% is the administrative fee that the county can keep from the tax relief. Now, and it's at the mercy of the county, that's whether we want to give that back to the people or not. But over the past years, we have been giving it back to the citizens. So, wondering, is there a percentage in here that we can keep to help defray some of the projects listed in 563? I'm asking a question only to help out somewhere on the long run. If you don't ask the question now, you won't get the answer you might want to get.
It is.
I would love to see you get it all, because we've been voting for you to get it all. But I'm just trying to make sure we are trying to make, not everybody happy, because I don't care what we do tonight, we're not gonna make everybody happy, because but we can do things to make life better for each individual.
So just for some administrative side of things.
Yeah.
So all the lost money is, and your taxes are in arrears, basically. So, you know, when you paid your taxes this January, they were for last year.
I know.
And then obviously the tax collected, July through June offsets that. That's how they come up with the factor to know how much to credit your taxes. So say we do change that percentage, and decide to keep a specific percentage of it, in your mind and for the purpose of these nonprofits, in theory, that money wouldn't be collected till after July 1 throughout the year. We wouldn't even know the total until next summer when they go to do the taxes for the following year. And that being said, let's just say we knew the number and we approved it right now, we would have to have 3 readings and a public hearing of the budget to reappropriate those funds.
I withdraw that. I
Okay,
withdraw
I'm not
that.
opposed, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just want to make sure we know the process.
I remember the process now.
Okay.
And so I'm changing my mind on that, but it was just one thought that happened to come to mind. And, I know how you all like that 1 cent sale tax that we did and all the projects that we did. And I know you all are looking at the quality of life for everybody. When I voted on this, general operation budget, it was some things in that I don't like. But it's some things in there that I know is beneficial to the county too, and to all of the citizens that we have here. But the budget really prioritized, it makes a statement of what you are about. Your budget makes a statement. Where do you put your money? And it makes the same statement at home too. Where do you put your money and how you use your money? When you want to make sure that you're doing things that's going to keep your household in order, and that's what we do. We want to make sure that we're keeping our household in order. So occasionally get out there on the limb because I really feel like we need to be doing some other things. I think I told an individual when I came in this afternoon, because I look around and I see so many people. I'm observing a lot of homeless people and a lot of people with some mental problems. I stopped at the stop sign this evening on my way here, and it was a young man out there playing the guitar so we can have some music, I guess, to brighten our day. And I think we just talk about things, but we just don't do too many things to help people out. And that's a concern, because I think we're no better than all of us. And when we all are, because we all technically in the same boat. Somebody else is down, whether you think you up high, you bow this down too. So, I can, I will go ahead on and, since I made that motion, because I really believe, we have worked real hard to make it better for the taxpayer. And I want you all to remember that when we have to do something else too. So I'll withdraw that and we'll go ahead on and call the motion.
All right, Ms. Anderson withdraws her amendment. Is there any other discussion on the lost ordinance? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on third and final reading of ordinance 966, local option sales tax allocations for FY 24-25. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Before I call for motion to adjourn, I would like want to thank council for letting us move the meeting, the regular business meeting, to the 24th, so that Mr. Higgs and Ms. Moody had time to mourn their families, and I have to continue to be in prayer for them as they go through these hard times. And I think plenty of time by the next meeting to prepare what they needed to, and we'll continue on with the county business. So that being said, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Rankin. Second by Ms. Clark. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Okay, so there we go. 6-0.